Lesson 12, Using the Returned Data. In this lesson, you will learn how to process the information returned from the server in response to an AJAX request. The topics we will cover in Lesson 12 are the response text and response XML properties, parsing response XML, and providing user feedback. The final piece of the AJAX jigsaw is the information returned by the server in response to a request. This lesson discusses what forms that information can take and how you can process it and use it in an application. We will use two of the XML HTTP request objects properties, namely response text and response XML. In this lesson, you'll see how to access the information contained in these two properties and apply each in an AJAX application. The response text property tries to represent the information returned by the server as a text string. Let's look again at the callback function prototype. Let's add a program statement to the branch of the if statement that is executed on success, like in this list. In this simple example, our script opens an alert dialog to display the text returned by the server. This line takes the text returned by the server-side routine and appends it to the string "the server said" before presenting it in a JavaScript alert dialog. Let's look at an example using a simple PHP file on the server. A successful XML HTTP request call to this file would result in the response text property containing the string "Hello, AJAX caller," causing the callback function to produce the dialog shown in here. Because the response text contains a simple text string, we can manipulate it using any of JavaScript's methods relating to strings. This table includes some of the available methods. Now, suppose that the PHP script we used on the server in the previous example had instead looked like this listing. The first line inside the PHP open and PHP close delimiters uses PHP's header instruction to add an HTTP header to the returned data. The header returned is the parameter and value pair which announces to our XML HTTP request object to expect that the following data from the server will be formatted as XML. The next line is another PHP echo statement that outputs this simple but complete XML document. When the server call is completed, we now find this XML document loaded into the response XML property of our XML HTTP request object. We can now access the content of the XML document via JavaScript's DOM methods and properties. This useful method allows you to build a JavaScript array of all the elements having a particular tag name. You can then access elements of that array using normal JavaScript statements. Here's an example. This line creates the array myElements and populates it with all the elements with tag name greeting. As with any other array, you can find out the length of the array, that is, the number of elements having the declared tag name, by using the length property. You can access a particular element individually if you want. The first occurring element with tag name greeting can be accessed as myElements 0. The second, if there is a second, as myElements 1. This listing gives an example of how we can use getElementsByTagName to return the text of our greeting in an alert dialog. After the usual checks on the values of the ready state and status properties, the code locates the required element from response XML using the getElementsByTagName method and then uses childNode's 0.nodeValue to extract the text content from this element, finally displaying the returned text in a JavaScript alert dialog. This figure shows the alert dialog showing the text string recovered from the greeting element of the XML document. In web pages with traditional interfaces, it is clear to the user when the server is busy processing a request. The interface is effectively unusable while a new page is being prepared and served. The situation is a little different in an AJAX application. Because the interface remains usable during an asynchronous HTTP request, it may not be apparent to the user that new information is expected from the server. Fortunately, there are some simple ways to warn that a server request is in progress. Our callback function is called each time the value of ready state changes, but we are only really interested in the condition myRequest.ReadyState is equal to 4, which indicates that the server request is complete. Let's refer again to our previous list. For all values of ready state other than 4, the function simply terminates having done nothing. We can use these changes to the value of ready state to indicate to the user that a server request is progressing but has not yet completed. consider this code. A commonly used way to do this is to modify the contents of a web page to show something eye-catching, such as a flashing or animated graphic, while a request is being processed, and then remove it when processing is complete. JavaScript's getElementById method allows you to locate an individual document element by its ID value. You can use this method in your user feedback routine to temporarily change the contents of a particular page element to provide the visual clue that a server request is in progress. Suppose that we have, say, a small animated graphic file, anim.gif, that we want to display while awaiting information from the server. We want to display this graphic inside a div element within the HTML page. We begin with this div element empty. Now consider the code of the callback function. On each change in value of the property readyState, the callback function checks for the condition readyState is equal to 4. Whenever this condition fails to be met, the else condition of the outer loop uses the inner HTML property to ensure that the page element with ID waiting contains an image whose source is the animated GIF. As soon as the condition readyState is equal to 4 is met, and we therefore know that the server request has concluded, this line once more erases the animation. This lesson examined the last link in the AJAX chain, how to deal with server responses containing both text and XML information. We also introduced a further JavaScript DOM method, getElementsByTagName. You can now test your knowledge in the quiz area, access the scripts we learned in the lab, or go through the lesson again. The choice is yours. Thank you for choosing Sam's Teach Yourself.